Don't worry, it's only the internet. Here we go. Yes, we are back together again, and it's very nice to be here on a sunny day, a sunny September day. I can't believe how nice the weather has turned out today. It's rather nice, in fact. Here we go again. Yes, we are back together once more, live across the World Wide Web. Apparently only old people say the World Wide Web nowadays. No one else uses that phrase at all. We are live, we are direct, we are all together once again from the birthplace of the English language. This is English Addict, live from England. Here we are. We are back together. Hi everybody. This is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy today? I really hope you are feeling good. I'm not too bad. I can't complain. We have a beautiful day. It is glorious outside. I want to run around the fields. I want to feel the air. I was going to say I want to feel the breeze in my hair, but of course that would not be right, as I don't have much hair on my head. Yes, we are back. It is another English Addict Extra. My name is Duncan, by the way, for all those who are wondering, who is it? Who is that strange man on the internet? We don't know who he is. Well, my name is Duncan. I talk about English. I love the English language. You might say that I am an English addict. Yes, maybe, perhaps. And I love doing this. I love joining you here live twice a week. Of course, you can also find me on Sunday as well. The same time, 2 p.m. UK time. And as you can see behind me, as I mentioned, it is a glorious day, beautiful sunshine as we look at the live view behind me, looking out of my studio window. And if you want, you can count all of the vehicles, all of the lorries and the cars going by behind me. If you want to do that, you are more than welcome to do it because, well, you can really. I'm not going to stop you. I have been teaching English for a long time. Don't forget, next month, it is a special month in October of this year. I will be celebrating once again my anniversary here on YouTube. A very long time. I've been doing this for forever and ever. It feels like it. A lot of people ask, Mr. Duncan, have you ever thought about quitting? Have you ever thought about giving up? Well, I suppose sometimes I do think about it. Sometimes when things are not going right, when things are not going very well, sometimes I think, I'm going to quit. I'm going to give it all up. I'm going to throw in the towel. That is a great expression that we use that means to quit, to give up. When you have decided that you no longer wish to do something, you might say that you throw in the towel. But not yet. No, I'm not doing it just yet. As we approach our 15th year. And I must be honest, I do love receiving messages from those of you who've been watching me for almost 15 years. All I can say is you must have a lot of patience. That's all I can say. So we are here. Yes, we've made it all the way to the middle of another week because it is Wednesday. Wednesday, once again. Woden's Day has arrived once more. How has your week been? I never normally ask how your week has been. But I'm going to ask now, how has your week been? Has it been a good week? I like to talk about my things, but perhaps something nice has happened in your life this week. Maybe something good has occurred in your life. So, anything new? Do you have any news for me concerning you? Because, of course, as I said last Sunday, I do feel as if we have a lovely family here on my English Addict live stream. So that is the way I look at it. I'm not just saying that. I really do feel that that is what this is. It's like a big happy family. We have the live chat. Oh, very interesting. Once again, he has the fastest finger in town. Congratulations once again to Vitas. I don't know how you do it. Maybe one day you will write a book all about how you were always first, or almost always first, on my live chat. Vitas, yes, once again, you are first. Welcome. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm not sure if there are any steroids being used. It sometimes happens amongst athletes, people who are trying to be fit and strong. Sometimes they will take steroids, they will take things to make them stronger, to increase their performance perhaps. Oh, yes. So it does happen. It really does. We also have Beatrice here and also Sandra Gonzalez. Welcome to my live stream on a Wednesday. And also we have Alessandra. Hello, Alessandra. Thank you very much for joining me here as well. We have a lot of people on the live stream today. Very nice to see you. Also we have, Luis Mendez is here today. I've had a lot of requests asking if I can show Luis Mendez in his suit. So first of all, I'm going to ask Luis, is it okay if I show your photograph of you wearing your suit a couple of weeks ago? Because I thought you looked really smart, to be honest. So, Luis, do you give me permission to show the photograph? Because a lot of people would like to see you in your suit. I remember years ago, whenever young children went to church, we would always wear smart clothes. And yes, it's true. Sometimes I did go to church as a child. I used to go to the Sunday service, sometimes with my parents, sometimes with my grandparents, but I would always wear my Sunday best. Have you ever heard of that phrase? Your Sunday best is the clothes that you wear on Sunday when you are attending church. We used to call those clothes your Sunday best. So you would arrive at church wearing your Sunday best, your lovely, smart clothes. Because apparently God doesn't like it if you look scruffy and untidy. I don't know why he's so fussy, but that's what we used to do. Come on, Luis. Can we see Luis Mendez wearing his suit? Okay. It would appear that Luis has said, All right, Mr. Duncan, no problem. So here it is, a lovely photograph of Luis Mendez wearing his lovely suit. And I have to say, he looks rather fancy. Here it is. Oh, sacre bleu. Very nice. I have to say, it's been a while since I've worn a suit and tie. I do wear my tie normally, but I don't often wear an actual suit. So you can see here on this photograph, Luis is wearing his shirt, tie, and also suit because it is a special occasion. It is his granddaughter's wedding he was attending a couple of weeks ago. But I like that suit, and I like the way the tie and also the shirt, they sort of match. A little bit like mine. Actually, it's very similar to my colour. I've just noticed. Your tie looks very similar to mine. I think so. Thank you once again, Luis, for sending those photographs. It was very nice of you to do that. And thank you also for sending your photographs. It's lovely, and you can send photographs to me if you want to. You are always welcome to do so. If you want to send something nice, if you want to say hello to me, you can always send me an email message. And for those who want to know my email address, here it is right now. It would appear that a lot of people like Luis Mendez with his fancy, very smart suit. I think so. I think it looks great. Maybe next week, maybe next Sunday, I might wear my suit. Yes, maybe we should all start doing it. I think one of the things that has occurred during lockdown, during this crazy period that we've all been living through, I think a lot of people have stopped dressing up or wearing smart clothes. I think it's happened because many of us have had to work at home. I know, for example, Steve. At the moment, Mr. Steve, is upstairs in his office. And he doesn't really have to wear his suit and tie for work because most of it now is happening over the telephone. So he doesn't have to dress up too smartly. Hello to Monisa. Hello also to Asketchum, who says, Luis looks dashing. I like that, dashing. A person who looks smart, maybe even sophisticated, handsome, refined. Yes, these are all very good words. Hello to Rita Greco, who asks, have you ever thought about organising a Zoom chat with your YouTube friends? I think it would be fantastic exercise. I'm going to say this again. I have mentioned this in the past. The problem with doing anything like Zoom is it can be difficult to do if some of the participants have slow internet. So it can become a problem. So you have to make sure, if you are having a Zoom conference, quite often you have to make sure that everyone has similar broadband speed and a good internet connection. So that's the reason why Zoom, and I suppose there are many other conference call software that you can buy and use, but quite often they all require fast internet speed. So that's one of the reasons why I've always avoided it. Not because I don't want to do it, because I think it would be fun, but I also think it would be a little bit chaotic. So I don't think it would be an enjoyable experience from my point of view, and also maybe your point of view as well. But I do understand. I think it's a good idea. But the problem is you have to make sure that everyone has a good connection, or else you end up with a very chaotic situation, unfortunately. The other thing is I don't have Zoom. I don't have it. You might be surprised to find that, but I don't actually have Zoom. I have other stuff and other things, professional mixing software, but I don't have Zoom. Although I do have... Do I have it? I'm just thinking now in my head. Do I have... No, I don't have Zoom at all. I don't. Mr. Steve uses it for his job, but unfortunately I can't use that because it belongs to his company, unfortunately. Hello, Marilda, who says, hello, Mr. Duncan. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Hello, also, Christina, who says, Mr. Duncan, your white shirt suits you. Yes, I suppose there are many ways of using the word suit. So we often think of suit as being something you wear, things that go together, they match. But also we can say that something suits you. It looks good on you. So a nice item of clothing, maybe something that complements your appearance, can also suit you as well. Hello, Saban. Hello to you. Good afternoon. I hope we have a nice evening in Iran. Hello, Iran. Nice to see you here. Glad you are joining us in today. Thank you very much. Marilda, and also 100 DOB. Hello, Diego, watching from the Caribbean islands. I am enjoying myself this afternoon for two reasons. One, the weather is nice. It's a lovely day. And the other reason is because you are here as well, joining me live on Wednesday. I'm a little bit distracted in the studio because there is a large spider crawling around on the ceiling, and it's right next to my camera. So if you do see something crawling across the camera later on, don't worry, it's just Mr. Spider coming to say hello. Hello also to Lone Tran. I believe you are watching in Vietnam. I think so. Lewis says, thanks to everyone, but to be honest, I don't like wearing a suit. I prefer my t-shirt, my jeans, and my trainers or sneakers. Talking of which, talking of active things and activities, today we are looking at things we used to play or things we used to do as a child in our childhood days. We are talking about childhood games. And this is something I've been thinking about for the last couple of weeks, especially during, well, once again, I'm going to mention it, lockdown. A lot of people have been stuck in the houses. And I suppose for some people, it hasn't really been a difficult period. And by that I mean young people or maybe children, teenagers, young adults. Because nowadays, and I don't want to sound old-fashioned, but nowadays you might find that a lot of children, a lot of young people prefer to stay at home or in the house because there are many distractions, many things that they can do to occupy their minds that means they don't have to go outside at all. So we are looking at childhood games, and I will be reminiscing. I will be remembering some of the childhood games that I used to play many years ago when I was a kid. It's true. I was a child once. Some people say I still am. So that's what we're looking at later. We have some strange English words to look at. And we have the mystery idiom, which I'm going to show you right now. Would you like to see today's mystery idiom? Here it is on your screen right now. Today's mystery idiom. Oh, very interesting. Now, all you have to do is tell me what you see. What do you see? Look closely. And this is a well-known expression that we use in English. It is today's mystery idiom. So all you have to do is tell me what it is. I will give you the answer later on, so don't worry. I won't forget. I will try my best not to forget. Does anyone know what today's mystery idiom is? Feel free to give your guess on the live chat. Ooh, so many things to do today. So we are talking about childhood games. Games we used to play when we were young. And I suppose I could almost ask the same question to you. So what about you? Were there any games? What games did you play when you were young? What games did you play as a child? And I will be listing some of the ones that existed when I was little, when I was a child. There were many games that we used to play in the street, and I suppose I was very lucky because the place where I used to live, the place where I was raised, was very close to lots and lots of grass and many fields. So I was lucky as a child because we had lots of places where we could go and play and also explore as well. What games did you play as a child? So this is for people of my age. So if you are watching now and you are in your 30s or 40s, what did you play as a child? Were there any games that you would play with each other? I can think of maybe two very obvious ones. One of the games we used to like playing when I was a kid was hide and seek. Hide and seek. A game that involved someone hiding, and then another group of people would have to find that person. Of course, you could also do it the other way round. You could have many people hiding, and then one person would try to find them one by one. So yes, you can have one or the other. Hello, Mayori. Oh, hello, Mayori. Nice to see you here. Mayori, 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 Mayori. Nice to see you back again today. Nessar says, when I was a child, I would play with my friends and also my family. I would often play cricket with my family and also friends. I used to play cricket a little bit as a child. But what about you? And where did you play? So where did you play cricket? Was it near the house? Did you have a place where you could go to play cricket with your friends and family? So we might describe that sort of thing as an active pastime or an activity. So something that is not just passing the time, it is also giving you some well-needed exercise as well, I suppose. Cricket. Akash says, I also used to play hide and seek. A very easy game to play because you don't really need anything. You just need some friends and I suppose some places to hide, which was always fun if you were outside. because it allowed you to use your imagination, because then you would have to find new and unusual places to hide. So I don't think playing hide and seek in the house is as much fun. I think playing it outside is more fun, because then you can find some interesting places to hide yourself away. Secretary General, hello. Shall I give you a salute? Hello, Secretary General, watching in Gambia. Hello, the Gambia in West Africa. Nice to see you here. You are very welcome to join in wherever you are watching around the world. Hello, Trung Quang. I know this is really random, but I've been following your channel for 3 years, and we used to have this conversation about whether you are going to teach or going to reach 1 million subscribers. And I'm happy to see that we are getting closer. Thank you, Trung. I think I am approaching 949,000 subscribers. So we still have a little way to go. We are about 50,000 subscribers away from 1 million subscribers. Sadly, these days, 1 million subscribers doesn't really mean much, even if you have 1 million subscribers, because there are people now on YouTube who have 7 or 8 million subscribers. So nowadays, 1 million doesn't seem like very much. Anyway, I'm looking forward to reaching it. I'm looking forward to getting to my 1 millionth subscriber. Thank you to Alessandro. Hello, Alessandro. Nice to see you here. Nessar, I played cricket in the playground, which was very near to my sweet home. It is good if you have somewhere to play outside. So if you are very lucky, you might have a field or some grass, or maybe a special area that has been put aside for you to play your games on or in. Maybe you have a recreation centre very close to where you live, a place where you can play your games. Talking of which, we are talking about childhood games in a little while, and I thought we would take a look at one of my full English lessons where I talk about that very subject. Childhood games, and also we will look at the meaning of the phrase red-handed. All of that coming up right now. Have you ever been caught doing something red-handed? Have you ever been caught in the act? The idiom red-handed means that you have been caught in the act of committing a crime or doing something wrong. You might have been seen carrying out the bad act as it was being done, or perhaps some evidence was found that showed you doing it, such as a photograph or video clip. You have been caught red-handed. You were caught red-handed. The phrase originated in Scotland and refers to the bloodstains found on the hands of a murderer. As a child, I used to play many games, but one game in particular still sticks out in my mind. Hide and seek. I bet at some point you have played this game too. The game is almost always played by a group of people, One person hides and the other people must try to find that person. We can use hide and seek as a phrase to mean the task of trying to hunt for someone. If a person keeps escaping from your view as you pursue them, then we can describe this as a game of hide and seek. We can also say that the people involved are playing cat and mouse, the pursuer and the pursued, the runner and the chaser. To search for a person who is missing or in hiding can be described as a hunt. Grammar is probably the hardest part of English to grasp, so I have decided to take some parts of English grammar and look closely at each one. For each full English episode, there will be one grammatical element to look at. Today, we will look at sentences. English sentences fall into four types: the statement, the question, the order or request, the exclamation. The statement is a sentence that gives information. To state is to say, and quite often saying means giving information. The car is travelling very fast. The boy looks very unhappy. These are statements. If information is being given or an observation is being made, then we are making a statement. To question something means we make an inquiry. We need information, so to get it, we must first put forward a question. If you want to find out something, you will almost always ask a question. To investigate something always involves asking questions. Is that car going too fast? Did you see where that man went? Can you hear the plane flying over Mr. Duncan's head? To give an order or make a request is to ask for something to be done, or not to be done, or to demand something. Don't be so rude. Don't drive so fast. A request can be in the form of a question, but in this case, information is not required. To ask someone to do something or tell them is an order. It is a request. An exclamation is a sentence that shows surprise or shock. It is often used to show anger or rage. You cheated on me. How fast that car is going. Oh, what a mess. An exclamation can also be put forward in the form of a question. The most common form of sentence is the statement. This is because most sentences pass on information. Conversation normally involves parting with information or making comments, which themselves are statements.
And there it was. One of my full English lessons, an excerpt from the second ever, so many years ago now. So that must be going back to 2013. Oh my goodness, such a long time ago. We are back live, and yes, for those wondering, behind me, that is live behind me as we are looking out of my studio window.
that is the view out of the window of my studio right now as we are live at 2:40 on a Wednesday afternoon. I hope you are having a good week so far. I hope your week has been super duper. Oh, by the way, something I meant to mention last week, but I didn't. I have made an appointment to go to the dentist. Oh dear, I know. It's been a long time since I've been, for very obvious reasons, because all of the dentists were closed during lockdown here in the UK. But most of them have now reopened and they are taking appointments. So I have made an appointment to go and see the dentist on the 21st of September. So I'm going on that day. I'm going to see what has happened to my teeth and my gums during the past 16 months of lockdown. We will see what is going on. I hope you are enjoying the view today. It is a lovely day. Shall we have a look at another view outside the window? Okay, I can't resist. I can't resist showing this. Oh, it's a lovely day today. One thing you might notice over the next couple of weeks, you might notice the leaves on the trees will begin to change colour. At the moment, they're not too bad. They appear to be still green, but coming soon, we have the autumnal weather, and already in some places, not around here, but in some parts of this area, the leaves have already started falling from the trees. So it does feel as if autumn is on the way. Having said that, the weather today is gorgeous. It's a beautiful day. The sun is out. We have mainly blue skies today, so it's very nice. And of course, as you know, I love autumn very much. I love it so much, I made a lesson all about it. I made a lesson all about autumn, and it is available on my YouTube channel. We have some strange words to look at because the English language is a strange thing. A lot of people complain about it. They say, Mr. Duncan, the English language is so difficult to understand and grasp. But with my help, hopefully, I can make things a little easier. So let's have a look at some strange English words, shall we? Here's the first one. Oh, this is a very interesting one to pronounce. Oh, what do we have here? Kafkaesque. Kafkaesque. Mr. Duncan, we've never heard of that word before. Well, this is actually used as an adjective. And I will repeat it again. Kafkaesque. And it is a characteristic or something reminiscent of the oppressive or nightmarish qualities of Franz Kafka's fictional world. And I know what you're going to say, Mr. Duncan. What is a Kafka? Or who is Franz Kafka? Well, I remember many years ago reading one of his most famous stories called The Metamorphosis, and it's a very strange story. It's also quite disturbing as well. But Franz Kafka was a Czech novelist who wrote in German. His work is characterized by its portrayal of an enigmatic and nightmarish reality, where the individual is perceived as lonely, perplexed, and threatened. Notable works, as I mentioned just, The Metamorphosis and also The Trial. Interesting to mention that most of his work was actually published after his death. So in fact, he only published, I think, a couple of novels, a couple of books but he did actually write a lot of other stories as well. And he had a good friend who actually ended up being the person who oversaw his estate after he died. And Franz Kafka asked his friend to destroy all of his work. He said, I don't want anyone else to read all of my manuscripts. I want you to destroy them after my death. However, his friend did not do that. Instead, he published them, and they are all very well-known pieces of work. But I always remember reading The Metamorphosis when I was a child. It's a very scary book. We had to study it for one of our English lit lessons. And yes, it's a rather creepy story about a man who wakes up to find himself transformed into a giant insect. And then he finds himself stuck because he's lying on his back. He can't move. And so he reminisces, he thinks about his own situation, his life. He was a salesman in the story, and he was looking at the futility of the relationships and the friendships, most of which he saw as fake or false. So it's a great story. It's been translated and rewritten in many, many languages, and if you've never read it, two things I would suggest. Well, first of all, I would suggest that you read it because it's a very good book. But also don't read it late at night because it might give you nightmares as well. But great. Oh, I see. Adi. Thank you, Adi. I have read The Trial and also The Metamorphosis. Oh, very nice. I must admit, I do like dark stories. And when I say dark, I mean things that deal with a very deep or dark subject. The human mind, human suffering, perhaps. So there are many novelists, many writers who over the years have studied these things. I suppose Edgar Allan Poe is another one that I read many years ago. Haven't read his stuff for a long time, but I used to read it when I was at school. Our English teacher had a very strange sense of humour sometimes, I think so. I'm sure my English teacher was trying to scare me. Oh, quite a few people have actually read that particular book. Interesting. So if something is Kafkaesque, it means it resembles the situations or the plots of Franz Kafka's books. Here's another strange word for you to get your brain around. Largesse. Oh, Mr. Duncan, we've never seen this word before. Largesse. And this is a noun that describes the generosity in bestowing money or gifts upon others. So a person's largesse is a person's generosity. They are willing to give things away in a generous way. Also, you can describe money or gifts given generously. So you might say the distribution of largesse to the local population. Things that are given away, gifts, to show generosity, and also the things that are given away as well. A very interesting word originates from Old French and originally came from Latin with the word largus, which means copious. So when we say copious, we mean a lot of something. Here is another word. Oh, I like this word. It's a naughty word. This is a word that always reminds me of an episode of South Park. And the word is Succubus. Do you know what a succubus is? A succubus, well, first of all, it is not a real thing, but it is a female demon believed to have sexual relationships with sleeping men. My goodness, Mr. Duncan, I can't believe that you are showing this on your live stream. The origin of this word comes from late Middle English, from the medieval Latin succubus, which means prostitute, from succubere, from sub, which is under, and cubere, to lie. So that is a word that you might hear described unfairly. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that this word is sometimes used unfairly to describe a woman in a relationship who always wants things all the time from her husband. She wants new clothes. She wants a nice new car. She is very demanding. So it's almost as if she is taking everything from the man. However, just to be fair, there are men who also use women in the same way. So it's not necessarily a female thing, but I certainly know in certain relationships you can find that there might be a man who will be using a woman in exactly the same way. So it's not always fair to say that only women do that. I think so. Yes, largesse is a French word. Yes, you are right. Thank you, Christina. Hello, Carlos. I like the Puritan writers, such as Richard Baxter and Bunyan. Christina is here again. Trung, I am curious. Mr. Duncan, have you ever heard of Susie Dent, a well-known lexicographer, who also introduces many old and unpopular words on her Twitter daily? Yes, I have heard of Susie Dent. I believe she is very popular on Twitter. I think she's on Facebook as well. She might be on Facebook. Yes, I have heard of Susie Dent. There are many people who are teaching English on Twitter. You might not realise it. I've also noticed, not directly because I don't have an account, but I've noticed some people talking about teaching English now on TikTok, which I find rather fascinating. So there are people now going onto TikTok and they are also teaching English on that website as well. So I must admit I find that rather fascinating. I might do it myself one day. Who knows? I could be the next big TikTok star. Maybe not. Maybe not. So we are looking at some words, some phrases, some games that we used to play as children. For those who missed the mystery idiom, here it is again. I will show you the mystery idiom on your screen right now. Today's mystery idiom. It is a well-known expression. It is a well-known expression in English. All you have to do is tell me what it is, and I will give you the answer a little bit later on. Are we all agreed on that? Good. I'm very pleased to hear it. The live chat is very busy. Sandra says, I have read your Twitter, Mr. Duncan. My Twitter account is very strange because I don't always put things on there. I do sometimes. Sometimes I will post things that might seem unusual, strange. Sometimes I like to type my thoughts onto Twitter. But I don't think anything that I put on Twitter is offensive, not like some other people. I think this is something I want to mention very quickly. Twitter is a very interesting place because without all the anger and the hate and the arguing and the fighting and the controversies, I don't think there would be such a thing as Twitter. I think Twitter would vanish very quickly. So the only reason why most people go onto Twitter is to take a look or read all of the offensive or hurtful comments, and then they join in with the arguing and the fighting. So I think sometimes, that Twitter is a place where people just go to have fights. It's a bit like a public boxing ring. That's what I think anyway, for my small little opinion. Hello, Alessandra. Hello also, Marwa Mohammed. Today I am holding up. Mr. Duncan, you are holding me up. How? I don't know what you mean by that. You are definitely not holding me up. Oh, Trung says, I guess that you have heard of a game called Red Lights, Green Lights. We used to play that, and also we used to build sandcastles as well. Ah, the good old memories, yes. We used to play something very similar to Red Light, Green Light. We used to play something called statues. So what would happen is one person would turn their back towards a group of people, and then you would have to try and get as close to that person as possible without them seeing you. And they would sometimes turn round and look at you. And every time they did that, you had to be very still. You had to become still, like a statue. And that's why they called it statues. So one person would eventually get right up to that person, and then they would be the next person who would be at the front, looking back. Hello, Mr. Duncan. Have a good day. Hello to Wings Chen. Hello to you as well. Nice to see you here. Where are you watching? I wonder. I'm always interested to find out where you are. There are many games we used to play as a child, and I'm going to show you some of the games that I used to play. Some of them I used to play, but also some of them my friends used to play. I know my sisters used to play these games as well. So before anyone says anything, Mr. Duncan, some of those games are for girls. So what? So it doesn't matter, does it? Does it matter if a boy plays a girl's game? I don't think it matters at all. So here we go. Then we have some games that people might play. As a child, I used to love playing outside. Childhood games. You think of childhood games. Well, first of all, to pass the time, children will often play games. However, these days, many of the games played will be done apart or alone indoors. So I suppose that's one of the big differences between how I look at my childhood and how many parents now see their own children's childhood. So I used to play outside all the time. I used to love playing outside with my friends and quite often with my sisters as well. In the past, children were more likely to play in groups outdoors, and the games would be more rough and tumble in their nature. Rough and tumble. Have you ever heard of that expression? The expression rough and tumble means physical. So quite often children would play, and they would play games that meant they had a lot of physical contact, maybe chasing or grabbing or even fighting. So you can play and fight at the same time. Rough and tumble. It means something that is very physical and for some people might also cause harm, perhaps. We will look at that later on I remember growing up as a time spent mainly outdoors, especially during the summer months. I would always play outside, especially during the summer, because during the summer months we would have our holiday. Our school holiday would normally be 6 weeks. So I remember growing up, and quite often my summers were spent outside, playing in the street or playing on one of the nearby fields. There were many games that we used to play together, some of which are rarely played now. And that leads us to what we are talking about today, what we are looking at. Childhood games. Some of these games are no longer played at all by anyone. They've almost been forgotten. Here is the first game, and this is one of the games that I used to play with my friends. Once again, it is an easy game to play. You don't need to buy lots of expensive equipment. And the game is hopscotch. Have you ever heard of hopscotch? I have a feeling that you have. As a child, me and my friends, we would all play hopscotch in the street, and it was very easy to play. It was also very easy to set up as well. All you needed was some chalk, and you could draw the numbers and the squares almost anywhere if you had a hard surface and some chalk. So that's one game we used to play quite a lot, and I think this particular game is still played in a lot of areas. Hopscotch, a very simple game. All you have to do is draw a grid, and then you will put numbers inside. And what the person has to do, they normally throw a stone that will land somewhere on that grid. And the idea is for you to hop and skip in a certain way along the grid. Christina says, I agree nowadays. Children often play video games. I don't think it's a good thing. So hopscotch. Did anyone play this game? I used to play it with my sisters. Some people think that it is a girl's game, but I think anyone can play hopscotch. Even adults, even grown-ups. I think we should all go outside at least once a week and have a game of hopscotch. I think so. So there it is, our first childhood game, and I remember playing this game a lot when I was a kid. Here's another one. I'm not sure if you've heard of this game, but it is called Rounders. I will say now it's very similar to baseball. If you've heard of the game baseball, it is very similar to that, but this particular game is played with a very lightweight ball and also a small bat. So the bat and the ball are not as heavy as baseball. So this is a game we often play here in the UK, quite often in schools. We will also play Rounders, and we used to play it many years ago on the field by our house. There was a lovely big green field, and during the summer we used to play Rounders. So I would go around and gather some of my friends, and we would all go onto the field and play Rounders. Sometimes we would also have matches between the kids and also the adults, the parents. So sometimes we would organise matches very close to where we lived. So one team would be the parents and the other team would be the children. Rounders. It's a great game, very exhausting. It is what I call a physical game because it also involves a lot of swinging to hit the ball. It also involves a lot of running as well, a lot of running around. So I think Rounders is a very good game to play. Very often played here in the UK. And I think it's still played as well in many schools. So it isn't a game that has been forgotten. A lot of people still play Rounders. Have you ever heard of it? Here's another one. Now this is a game that I always remember my sisters playing. So this tended to be a girls' game. French skipping. Has anyone ever heard of French skipping? Anywhere? I believe also this has another name as well. It can also be called Chinese skipping. But here in England we call it French skipping. I don't think you see many people playing this game anymore. You don't see many people playing this particular game. It's a very simple game to play, but again it uses a lot of energy. You need to be quite fit to play the game. It is basically a piece of elastic. So the thing going around the legs is not string, it is actually a piece of elastic, so it will stretch. And there is a very particular way of playing this game. You have to move your feet. You also have to jump at the same time. And it is not easy. And yes, I used to play French skipping when I was a kid. Beatrice says yes. I used to play French skipping as well. Can I say hello to Belarusia? Hello, Claudia. Nice to see you here. I also used to play French skipping a lot in the 1970s. It was very popular back then. And yes, you are right. French skipping was often played by girls in my area. But, as I said earlier, sometimes the boys would get involved as well. Can I just say I was not very good at French skipping because my legs were too long. If you've got long legs, it is very hard to French skip. And also my feet were really big. Now you might think that that would be an advantage, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Having long legs and big feet can sometimes be quite a pain. So what about you? Are there any games that you used to play as a child that I haven't mentioned yet? So maybe there is something that you used to play that I haven't mentioned yet. We are getting some interesting comments about the differences between children's games in the past and children's games now. Hello, Trung. I guess many people would share the same problem as mine, growing up in a world of technology and slowly losing the old traditions. But we just couldn't do much to change that. It is quite worrying. Do you agree? I will cover that a little bit later. Christina, do you remember the Click-Clack game? Click-Clack. Now I wonder if you mean, there used to be a little toy that people would play with many years ago, and it was two large balls, and they were attached to a piece of string, and then you would clack the balls together. It sounds quite enjoyable, actually. It sounds very nice. So maybe that's the game you are thinking of, or maybe the toy you are thinking of. Yes, we used to have those years ago. Unfortunately, some of the children in my school were actually injured by them because the pieces of plastic were very heavy and hard. So sometimes the little balls would hit the kids in the face. So in the end, they were actually banned from school. They did ban the click-clack. We used to call them clankers. Clankers, because they would click, 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 clank together. You see? That's why. Thank you, Christina. Oh, that is the one you are thinking of. Yes. Here's another one. Now, earlier I mentioned Rounders. Here is another game that is very similar to Rounders, and it's called Softball. So you might see softball being played in the United States. So it is played more often in the United States. Very similar to Rounders. Very similar. So let's have a look at the Rounders again. So there is the Rounders kit. That is what you need to play Rounders. You have a bat, you have a ball, and you have some sticks that you put in the ground, and then you have to run around after hitting the ball. And softball is very similar. However, softball is more similar to baseball. And quite often, softball is played in American schools or in the US. So over here, we often play Rounders, whereas in the United States, or maybe where you are, they play softball. Alessandra says, I remember the clackers. The clackers. They used to clack together, and you would have to hold. You'd hold them, and you had to make them clack together. But unfortunately, many kids were injured by them because the hard, heavy balls would hit them in the face, and they would become injured. I remember at school there were many games that were banned. We'll be looking at one of those games in a moment. One of those games coming up in a moment. Here is another game that we used to play, and as I mentioned, this is a game that was also banned at school. Have you ever heard of British Bulldog? British Bulldog was a very popular game when I was growing up, and it also has another name as well. Some people call it Red Rover. British Bulldog. And the name refers to the thing that you shout just before the game starts. So you would shout, British Bulldog, and then the game would start. Or some people would shout, Red Rover, and then the game would start. It's a very simple game, however, it can also be very violent as well. Basically, a group of children or group of people will join arms, and then one person will run towards that group and try to break through. You can play this game with as many people as you want, which is the reason why it was banned. When I was at school, they actually banned all of the kids in my school. They banned them. They said you cannot play British Bulldog because it's too dangerous. And yes, some of the kids were actually injured playing this game. It was a very rough game. Some people might even say violent. Have you ever heard of British Bulldog? It was very popular in this country. To be honest with you, I don't think we can play it anymore. I don't think schools will allow it anymore because it's a little bit rough. And as I said, also a little bit violent as well. Some of the kids used to start fighting, you see. They would stop playing and then start fighting. And people did get injured. People did get hurt. Christina says, do you remember the tug of war? Yes, I suppose tug of war is something that has over the years been developed in various ways. So we often see tug of war, as something we call a feat of strength. When we describe something as a feat of strength, it means it is something that is being done to show how strong you are. You are a strong person. Yes, I used to play tug of war, not always, because I wasn't very good at it. As Ketchum says, I have a lot of bulldogs that come to the vet clinic where I work. I wonder what you do with them. Because there is one thing that I've noticed with dog owners, especially if they have male dogs. They will often cut off a certain part of their body to stop them from barking. There's no answer to that really, but it does sound very painful. Oh, here's another game. I remember this game. This is a game that we used to play normally late summer. So not during the early summer months, but we would play this game later in the year, normally around September or October. And the game was Conkers. Who used to play Conkers? Oh, now I can safely say that I spent many hours playing Conkers with my friends. Again, this is also a type of game that can be a little dangerous. You can be injured playing this game. So you would get some lovely hard conkers. By the way, for those wondering, that particular thing is actually the seed of a horse chestnut tree, for those wondering. So there it is. A very interesting looking seed pod. And inside the seed pod, there is a conker. And what kids used to do, we used to take them and we used to wait for them to go hard. And then we would put a piece of string through the middle of the conker. And then we would battle with our friends who also had some conkers as well. So when we say conker, we actually mean the seed from a horse chestnut tree. And quite interesting, very close to my house, there was a huge horse chestnut tree. And there used to be lots of conkers falling from the tree. But actually, sometimes we used to go to the tree and we used to throw sticks into the tree. So we used to get large pieces of wood and we would throw them up into the tree to try and get the horse chestnut seeds to actually fall to the ground. And inside, if you were very lucky, there was a giant conker, a large conker that you would then use to play conkers. I love that game. I'm not sure if people still play it. I would imagine that these days it has been banned, I would imagine, these days. So I think these days perhaps this has been banned, this particular game, because kids used to get injured. So quite often the conker would actually hit the child's hand, or maybe their face, or maybe a little piece of the conker would fly off and hit the child in the eye. So I would imagine now not many people play conkers. I wouldn't be surprised if many schools have now banned them completely. Adi says, what about stone skipping? I like that one, yes. Some people are very good at stone skipping. The idea is you normally go to a pool and you will throw a stone. But the idea is you're supposed to get the stone to skip across the water. So normally you will need to find a very flat stone, and then you will throw the stone, and if you throw it properly, it will bounce across the water. It will skip across the water. So yes, I do know that game. Mr. Duncan, do you know Chinese sticks? I don't know the correct name in English. Chinese sticks. I wonder if that is the game where you have two sticks in your hand and then you have another stick that you have to bounce between the sticks that you are holding in your hand. So yes, I think I know the game you mean. So there are quite a few. Here is another game. This is the final game that I'm looking at. A game we used to play outside our house when I was a kid, when I was a child. Have you ever heard of the game Kirby? Mr. Duncan, I think I can safely say I haven't heard of that game. Well, I will show you. The game Kirby. And this is something we used to play right outside our houses. You would stand on either side of the road, so one person would be on one side of the road and one person would be on the other side, and what you would do, you would throw a ball across the road. And the idea was for the ball to hit the side of the curb and then come back to the person who threw it. So you might say that this was a game of skill. So one person would throw the ball, a very large ball, normally a football, something like that. So it had to be a large ball, not a small ball. So you would often use a football and you would throw it against the curb, and if you were lucky, the ball would bounce back to where you were. And we used to call this game Kirby. Oh, I used to play this game all the time. And the great thing about this game is you could play it right outside your house. You didn't have to go anywhere. Of course, nowadays, a lot of people don't like their kids going out into the street. And also the other problem, I suppose, is there's a lot more traffic on the road. So when I was growing up, there weren't many cars driving around. So I suppose that particular game was much easier to play because there weren't many cars around. Yes, Hailey Kwang says you can play that particular game on your own if you have the skill. I suppose so, yes. Yes, if you are very good at it, you could actually stand there on your own and throw the ball at the other side of the road, and you would try to get the ball to bounce back towards you. So yes, I suppose you could. You could also play that on your own. Addy says, I have to go now. I have an online class at 3:30. Oh, well, don't be late for your online lesson. Oh, I wonder who is teaching you. I'm intrigued to find out. Beatrice, Mr. Duncan, Chinese sticks is a group of thin sticks of wood joined, and you throw them onto the floor, and you have to take them one by one without moving the others. I'm trying to think. Did I ever play that? I think I know what you mean. Mayori says, we used to also play a game where we would throw the ball, but we would do it against the wall. Well, I suppose you can, yes. In fact, quite an easy game to play on your own is just to take a ball, maybe a tennis ball, and you can just throw the tennis ball at the wall for as long as you can. And you could play that for hours, I suppose. You could see how many times you can throw and catch the ball in an hour. And you could count up. I suppose you could. Yes, it's a good game. Thank you very much for your company today. It's been lovely having you here today. Maybe some of these games you could play by yourself, or maybe you can find someone to play with. Maybe. You're never too old. That's what I always say. You are never too old to play these games, ever. Christina says, did you ever play Capture the Flag? No, I don't think we did. No, I don't remember that game ever being played. Mayori says, we used to play with marbles. Yes, I would say that marbles, probably one of the most popular games. We might talk about that on Sunday, actually, because marbles was a game that was played widely in schools across the UK, and I have a feeling around the world as well. So maybe some people call it marbles. Mayori says, we also play with bablets. Bablets. I'm not sure what a bablet is. Is it similar to a marble? Little tiny glass balls that you would throw or move, and then you would play with your friends, or you would play against them. And the idea was, if you would hit another person's marbles, you would get to keep them. So it was a game sometimes that could be a little distressing to play, especially when you lost all of your marbles, which also has another meaning. If you lose your marbles, it means that you've gone mad. You lose your marbles, you've gone mad. You've gone crazy. You have lost your marbles. Hello, Mr. Duncan. Hello to Adoralia Rodriguez. Mr. Duncan, do you like Marmite? No, not really. I don't like Marmite. I don't like the taste. I don't like the taste of yeast. It's a bit too strong for my delicate palate. Sandra says, I don't remember playing the game British Bulldog, but I do have a dog called Simon. That's a great name for a dog, by the way. I love that. You've actually called your dog Simon. Interesting. I received a couple of messages about repeating things. Now, this is something I'm going to talk about very briefly before I go, but you should never be afraid to repeat things. Never be afraid to repeat words. Never feel embarrassed by the action of repeating the things that you are learning. I always say that repeating things is the best way of learning, whatever it is. Whether you are learning to drive a car, whether you are learning to ride a bike, whether you are learning the English language or any language, repeating is a very good way of learning, whatever it is. And I've also found in my life, from my own experience, repeating things is a great way of learning, picking up a new skill. And I suppose a good example would be learning to do this. When I first started doing this, I don't think I was very good at it. Some people say that I'm still not very good at it. They can please themselves, to be honest. They can. So repetition, repeating things. Never be afraid. If you are listening to something, never be afraid to repeat it, to say it out loud. Maybe you can use your mirror at home, to look at yourself whilst you are speaking, whilst you are repeating. Listen to your own voice. You can record your voice. Never be afraid to repeat. One of the best ways to pick up a language or to learn a new skill is through repeating, repetition. So never be afraid of that. Claudia says, sometimes I like to watch your old lessons. Well, there are many old lessons on my YouTube channel. My favourite lessons are the ones that you did in October. So Mr. Duncan in October becomes Dunktober. Thank you very much for your feedback there. Thank you. Trung Quang asks, will you make a live stream introducing different English dialects, especially lesser known ones like Welsh or Cornish? Well, I suppose when you're talking about dialects, you might also be talking about accents as well. So when we are talking about specific languages, you might say the Welsh language. So Welsh is a separate language from English. So that is still spoken in certain parts of Wales. However, you might also be referring to the accent as well, the Welsh accent. So even though the language is English, there will be a strong accent. So when we talk about colloquial accents or dialects, sometimes we are talking about the way words are used, or maybe sometimes words are created or invented in certain areas. However, the language used is still English. And then, of course, we have accents as well. So you will find that the majority of people in the UK, wherever you go, will speak English, but they will also have an accent as well. An accent. And quite often, those accents are quite strong. And some people would complain. They would say sometimes those accents are very hard to understand. And you might be right. Palmyra, hello Palmyra, says, I studied Latin in university. Well, Latin is a language that would seem to be dead, but it isn't. In fact, it's coming back. Here in the UK, some schools are going to start introducing Latin into their language curriculum, which is very interesting, I must say. And if you are studying certain types of profession, maybe law, or maybe if you want to be a doctor, you will find that there are many Latin words which are used. That is almost it from me for today. I will be going in a moment. It is a beautiful day. I will go outside and have a look. I'm going to get a little bit of sunshine on my face. I want to feel the warm glow of the sunshine before it disappears. Thank you very much, Beatrice. Thank you, Palmyra. Yes, I agree with what you say about accents and dialects. They can be very difficult, even for us. So even if we travel to another part of the country, you might find that an individual might have difficulty understanding what the person is saying. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Vitas. Congratulations once again, Vitas. Very interestingly enough, on Sunday, we are talking about Cockney English and also rhyming slang. Have you ever heard of it? Cockney rhyming slang is one of the things we are talking about next Sunday. So I will be with you on Sunday. Here is the time. Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm back with you. English Addict on Sunday. 2 p.m. UK time. That is when I'm back. And of course, Mr. Steve will be here. Before I go, I will show you the mystery idiom and I will give you the answer as well. Don't worry, I didn't forget. Okay, I nearly forgot. I nearly forgot about the mystery idiom. Very nearly, almost. So here is today's mystery idiom. I think we had a couple of correct answers as well. Interesting. I thought this was difficult. So here is the answer to today's mystery idiom. Are you ready? Here it comes. Right now. On your screen. In front of you. Live. Now. Get on with it. Cutting ties. Yes. Cutting ties. We can also say cut all ties. You cut your ties. The meaning of this expression, to serve, or should I say to sever or end a connection with a person or an organisation, or to distance yourself from a group you had joined. You cut your ties. You are cutting your ties. So in this particular idiom, we are actually saying we are distancing ourselves from a person or an organisation, maybe a person who has done something wrong or bad. To sever or end a connection with a person or an organisation, or to distance yourself from a group you had joined. You cut your ties. You are cutting your ties. And that is it, the answer to today's mystery idiom. I hope you enjoyed that. Another one coming next week. Thanks for your company. I am going in a moment. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. You can watch this again later. It will be available, and yes, later on there will be captions. So there will be captions, don't worry, at the bottom of the screen. Later on you can watch this all over again, and hopefully there will be some interesting words for you to write down. Thank you, Alessandra. See you later. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, Mr. Duncan. Thanks for the live stream. It's been really fun going back to your channel, and it's really nice to see that you are doing well. Stay strong. I'm fine. I'm not too bad. I'm a little bit older. I'm not sure if I'm a little bit wiser, but I'm definitely older. Thank you very much. See you on Sunday. I'm going now. Enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. Have a nice one. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thanks for watching. See you soon. Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time. If you like this, don't forget to give me a lovely big thumb to show you care. And if you want, you can also subscribe as well, and then you will never miss a moment of this. And of course, until the next time we meet here, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Ta-ta for now.